Speaking of which, I think now would be a good time. I'm going to go ahead and let you go ahead and go over. Let's go over the first round or so of your mock draft. I've got that document up right now, so I can take a look at it.
Yeah, definitely. So who knows if this is going to go how I think it's going to go. A lot of the picks that I did in this mock draft are really based on who I think can get along well and who like to play with each other. Not necessarily every pick, but I did go with the rankings quite a bit. I didn't necessarily do kind of what I was just saying a minute ago, where I was thinking about, the people that are going to take a pick in order to get 2 picks in a row. So there's not a lot of that in this mock draft. But let me pull it up here real quick. So the first round, the order of picks, because of the starting salaries, is going to be Facial, then 9 Inches of Fro, then Linoleum, then Killer, then Bob, then Marcos, and then Zios. So what I have going, based on the rankings and based on kind of how I think I might pick in their situation, I have Mike or Fusion going first, and I think that's a given. I think everybody considers him, the best in the league right now. So next I have Danny, or Pulse, who is going to be a really, really good flag runner, European player, decent fragger, really good runner, has a lot of crazy pistons, and I think that it's going to go just like that. I think Linoleum is going to go ahead third pick and pick Cafe. Killer, I assume, is going to pick Blimpo. I know they work well together, and I know they've played together in the past. So,
all right. So, question for you there then: if Killer picks up Blimpo, those are 2 players. I've seen Killer play defense lately, but I think he's ended up switching to offense. I think his best role is definitely offense. Do you think that he's going to pick Blimpo to play offense with him, or do you think he's going to stick him on D? Because Blimpo's another player that can kind of switch back and forth if he needs to.
I think it's going to rely a lot on the map choices, but I think in general, I think Killer is going to want to run offense with Blimpo. Both very good runners, both good flag runners. Blimpo definitely, I think, probably a little bit better at the pistoning, but I think he's going to pick him to run offense, and I think just for the teamwork aspect, and because Blimpo is just he's an incredible player. So.
Yeah, and I think that gets into sort of the strategy, especially at these early rounds, is when you have these captains, you're sort of starting off with your base level. Unlike, say, a sports league or something where you start off with no players and you're picking from scratch, hypothetically. Here, your captain is one of your main players, and so pretty much all of these captains are going to be starting players in their teams. And so you look at someone like Killer, it's a perfect example of trying to decide whether you pick the best available player to overall, or whether you pick one that will complement what you do. For instance, Killer being a big aggressive offensive player, he may stack his offense early, but then now he's going to have to worry about filling in defensive roles later.
Yeah, exactly. And again, I just think it's going to depend on map pick, because Blimpo can definitely be a ridiculously good defense as well. So, but moving along there, let's see. I think Bob, next pick, I think he's going, and I'm not really sure because I don't know how much they've really played together, but XDVS or Zelos has been playing quite a bit of pugs, and he usually plays a true mid, timing them those amps, and he's just a really good player. I think that'll add some really good fragging power on Bob's team.
Yeah, that would definitely be a situation where you have two fairly versatile fraggers on the team, and then it would be a matter of really filling in those more specialized roles, specifically flag runners, to fill in the gaps there.
Yeah, and I think just my thoughts on that is I think that Bob is going to be able to, not only can he run offense, he has been some lately, but he's also a great defense. He's going to be able to get a true flag runner even later in the draft, so that was kind of my thinking there. After that, we have Marcos picking. I'm assuming I know Marcos is going to run offense mostly, I believe. So I kind of was looking at the rankings, and I thought that Corp is going to be one of the better defensive players coming out next, so that maybe he would want to pick a defense early, since he knows that he's going to be a pretty powerful offense.
Yeah, and that's interesting because, like I say, Marcos is one of those players, again, who can go offense or defense, but due to the sort of dearth of offensive flag runners in this game, he's probably going to be best served getting the most value out of himself as an offensive player. Corp is actually one of those guys that we've seen run a bit of offense, mostly in a cover/mid role lately, and he's very efficient as that as well. But I believe that if Marcos is going to be running offense, he's probably going to be putting Court back in the base. And I'd probably be sticking him on the flag a lot to be his primary defender.
Yeah, that was kind of my thinking there. And like I said, I mean, I kind of went down the list. I wasn't, you know, obviously the person that ranked these, but I assumed that there was plenty of input. So while I'm not 100% on each of these rankings, I'm just kind of going with that and who I think works well together. That being said, the next pick, I actually went down a little bit to Levok for Zios to pick Levok first round. Honestly, I just feel like if you put Zios and Levok on the same team, that fragging power is just so ridiculous. And Levok's been playing a lot of offense lately, and as we know, Zios typically plays a defense. So my thoughts there was Zios would want to pick some really good offensive cover to start off. And based on the rankings, I thought that was the best pick there.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen Levok kind of get moved around in pugs lately. Personally, that's where I would put him. We actually talked about this last night. I personally would do exactly what you're saying. Put him as more of a distance cover, not specifically mid per se, but maybe your number 3 guy, your second offensive cover from a distance, and let him just unload on people. And if you got Zeos back in base and him in mid, then you're pretty much looking at just needing a flag runner. And people are telling me the draft might be getting started.
Yep, that's what I'm seeing.
And there you go. So Facial with the first pick already.
Yep, Facial takes Fusion immediately, which was, I think, anybody that was going to be first pick, that was pretty much going to be what was going to happen.
I'm actually going to see if I can put together a last-minute image here so we can keep track of these teams. Go Gadget Photoshop.
I guess they're having a little bit of technical difficulties here. They forgot to add Killer as a captain in the start of the draft. So.
Well, you know what? The Canadians don't really count anyway.
True enough.
Alright, well good. That'll give me time to go ahead and pop open my little Photoshop here and try to get some stuff going on here so that we can keep track for our viewers of what's going on, because we see this nice fancy pug bot that lists everything in IRC, but it's really kind of hard to parse if we just put it on the stream. So I'm going to go ahead and try to get a visual up for us.
And just a side note here, actually, on my mock draft there, the only reason that I actually didn't put Ne0 in that first round is because of what we were talking about earlier, as far as the questionables, or who knows what's going to happen with scheduling. So obviously, I think Ne0 would definitely go in, and he may still go in the first round. Who knows? But as far as my mock draft goes, I didn't pick him in the first round because of that reason.
Right. Well, again, then that's something that a lot of these captains have had a chance to sort of, I don't want to say interview, but sort of talk to these players and find out from a lot of them one-on-one sort of what their availability is going to be and what they expect to be able to do here. And so a lot of them are going to have more insight than we are, as they should. They certainly have more on the line than we do in our picks here. We get to speculate all we want, and if we're wrong, we just get to drink a beer and forget about it. But
Yeah.
These guys have, are setting their team up for the next month to 2 months worth of games here. So obviously, a lot of them are going to have a little bit of information that we may not have here. And a lot of them may think they have information that they do not, in fact, have. So that'll be interesting to see as well. Because every draft league that I've been in, you do eventually see some guys thinking they have surefire hits that they end up having to drop and pick up free agents for. Still getting that pug bot going, so I'm going to go ahead and just continue editing away here on my end.
Yeah, right on. Well, and that's what I was going to say. Just it would stink to be a captain and then pick somebody high up like that, as like we were just talking about Ne0, and then they aren't able to show up to matches. So I think that'll make a big impact on these picks here. I'm glad I'm not the one that has to set up this pug bot. I'll say that.
Yeah, it's a fairly complex process. That's why I'm trying to get a visual for us, because seeing all that going on there is a little bit complex.
Although for those of you that would be interested in watching the draft, it's pound 2k4 draft on Global Gamers on IRC. So
if you check the bottom of my stream, it'll actually have a link that you can click that'll take you to the Java applet that'll let you join our IRC channel straight through your browser, so you won't even have to worry about getting a client.
So I saw a few of the viewers asking why they couldn't see IRC, but it's just a little hectic. So
yeah, you really wouldn't be able to make much sense of it at the moment.
yeah, for those of you asking, also in the stream here, definitely I would assume either scrimmages or definitely pugs will be going on in pound 2k4CTF after the draft as well. So
yeah, feel free to join, watch, spec, talk, play. Alright, 9 Inches of Afro is entirely too long of a name. I'm just going to be calling him Fro from now on. Is everybody cool with that? Everybody down?
that works, yeah, definitely. I just took it straight off the site, so...
Right, exactly. So, I mean, while we're waiting on this, why don't you go ahead and run down your sort of second round of picks, and specifically, like, what I'm most interested here is seeing how the captains play off their own positions and their own picks. Like, for instance, you know, you've got guys that are offensive players picking top offensive players, and then how are they going to shore up their defense, or how do you project that?
Yeah, so definitely will. So we'll go into the second round here, and based on who I picked, I went ahead and did the draft style thing where it's going to be a different order of picking. So we're going to have Fro, then Facial, Linoleum, Killer, Bobs, Ios, Marcos. I have Fro picking DC first in the second round. Fro is typically going to play an offensive role from what I've seen. So if you look at it there, I have Fro and Danny or Pulse playing offense for this team, and then I've been picking in the second round a really good defensive player immediately to kind of start bolstering up his defense. And that was just kind of my thoughts there is, you know, if I have a player picking, you know, a double offense, then a lot of times here you're going to see me have them picking a defense, or vice versa. If I have them double, you know, two defense or like a defense and a mid, I might have them picking a true offense. Also depending on the rankings, of course. But so that was the reason for me thinking that DC would go first in the second round. So then we have Facial as second pick based on the new salaries. Let's see. I have him picking Dre. Dre is a UT99 player, but I think he's played in a few of the MLUTs. He plays a true defense, usually right on the flag. Plays a really good defense, and so this team would now be Facial, who, you know, he plays an offense or a defense, and he plays well at both. It just kind of depends on the map. But I would typically, I mean, I don't know, lately he's been more of a defensive role, I think, but I always viewed him as a true carrier, typically, at least in the past when I played with him. So I would say like Facial and Fusion maybe playing offense together, and then you have Dre as a true defense for that. Or to that matter, you know, Facial and Dre could play defense, and Fusion can definitely run.
Yeah, we've seen Facial kind of switch back and forth in recent times. My personal stance is that, you know, again, given the supply and demand of what's available, I think he's experienced enough to be an effective cover and to really make those decisions on when to fall back and cut off flat carriers, and then when to catch up and cover and make those decisions well. So personally, I would see him running more of an offensive role, but you know, you never know what can happen.
Yeah, Facial is just definitely one of those guys that just knows capture the flag. He's played it forever. He's actually, I think, become a better fragger than I remember in the past, as of recent. Just last night, he was playing some damn good defense. So.
Yeah, you know, I've actually seen that from quite a few players here. I come in and I say, wait a minute, I don't remember them being that good at killing me with internet guns.
Give me just 2 seconds here.
Yeah, I think we've got Linoleum should be joining us shortly. The head admin for this whole season.
Alright, let's see now. Do you want me to just continue with this second round here?
Well, let me take a look at it real quick. See what we've got so far.
Oh, actually, the draft is actually starting here.
Oh.